Welcome to the Incorrigible Party After Party.
Bill's like just looking at me like I don't know her. I have such a good voice for the bass, you know?
Okay,
there we go.
I've had enough of that.
Actually, you don't need me for this, do you? I don't have to run anything, so like I can take off.
Yeah.
This shit show.
All right, what are we talking about today? I think we have 4 episodes this time, right?
We do, yeah, we do.
We had a couple episodes in there, so we wanted to string those together, so we went out 4.
Yeah.
But we're looking at what was the numbers? It would be 18 through 22, is that right?
19, 20, 21,
Can you
and
count?
22.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 1.
Math is hard.
Excluding 18.
Math is hard.
Yes, all everything John said, excluding 18.
That's right.
So we go from mountain to
City, yeah.
outside. Yeah, mountain to city outside Victor.
So we start right after we left our Patrick Hillier episode, I believe, and we were headed to Goldham and ran into some.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
Originally.
Yeah, after a long discussion on where to go, we decided to go to Goldham, and we ran into a bit of a kerfuffle there, I believe, with where Falzarin.
A diplomatic situation.
Yeah, Falzarin was the hero of the day, I believe, in that episode where.
No.
That's an accurate way to describe what happened, John.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I mean, it could have all been avoided with just a hand holding, if I remember correctly, but no, we had to go. We had to go right into battle, I believe, with some diplomacy.
Some diplomacy, exactly.
Yeah,
From
failed diplomacy.
Yeah. So, Falzarin, you want to tell us a little bit about your heroic adventure?
The way I remember it
What the fuck were you thinking?
Way.
That's good to start out that way.
was this.
Emily, you really coerced him into it. You were like,
Well,
you go talk.
He said we needed to talk, which Gozer thinks is stupid for obvious reasons. And he insisted, so he was going to go talk.
Yeah, well, that's true, I guess. Honestly, he looked like he was behaving like a friendly ogre. He was waving and like smiling, according to Leland. So I thought,
I don't know if I said he was smiling.
thing.
you
Like
definitely
a
said he was
dumb
smiling.
ogre.
I don't know about the smile.
He was waving.
He was blowing bubbles into the air.
Picking flowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chasing butterflies with a
He
mallet.
had flowers behind his ear. Anyway, I'm thinking, you know what? I do not really want to go hang out with an ogre by myself, but I also thought maybe someone else would come along with me. But
I
that
tried.
didn't happen. Yeah, I know.
He tried for half a second.
And then Gozer
Half-hearted.
put the kibosh on that. So, yeah, and then the other thing that I thought was that if things go south, I've got color spray, which
Yeah, that
should
was in your
work
back
great
pocket, wasn't it?
against an ogre. Which it does not, unless the ogre has been beaten down quite a bit, as I learned.
Yeah,
So,
so that ogre,
He
I
had
believe
a lot of
the
health.
base HP for that for ogre is like 59. So you were
Yeah,
rolling
so-
60-10 for your color spray. You would have
I
to
would
roll
need-
pretty damn good
I
to,
need to roll, like almost an impossible roll.
yeah, to blind him off the bat there.
So,
I mean, Bryn
But-
had stood there with a arrow readied, so I mean, I didn't totally abandon you. I did like the wife duty of like.
despite what happened, Falzarin single-handedly defeated
That
this
is
huge ogre.
false. You're not the only one that got points on him.
Well,
I say it's the best he's ever done.
Which is why Gozer keeps trying to kill him. He's worthless.
I would like to point out the
With the
best
darts.
Falzarin has ever done is compared directly to the worst I've ever rolled for a monster.
Yeah.
Like
That
Falzarin,
is-
you know what?
Your
It
AC
is
is
what it is,
10.
Leland.
I rolled 9 like 4 times in a row.
Yeah,
This
that's
came up in a
fantastic.
previous after party where we said in the future we were wondering if Leland changed the roles of the
Fun.
Yeah,
monster.
actually,
this is the fight we were
This is
talking
an
about.
interesting
'Cause he
talking
kept
point.
missing.
I think this is an interesting talking point because Pep, you might also be able to comment on this because you've DM'd a fair bit, I think. And I guess John and Emily have DM'd a little bit as
Should
well.
the DM cook the books?
But yeah, I left that episode having avoided being hit like multiple times in a row by this ogre, and I have a terrible AC. So I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if Leland was like going easy on me so that he doesn't just destroy Falzarin. And I made a comment, or I think Elena commented to Leland about that, and Leland said that no, he did not. That was just the dice. So this kind of brings up the point of, you know, as a DM, do you guys sometimes fudge the rolls so that, you know, you don't obliterate a character, or what do you guys think?
What say you, Pep?
I think it really depends on the situation. I think when it comes down to like death, sometimes things will get fudged. Like if you're in the middle of what should have been a very casual situation, it kind of feels weird to just kill off a player. So it feels kind of okay to fudge things a little then. But in like the situation you were in, for example, honestly, if the ogre had have hit you, worst case scenario, you're knocked unconscious essentially, and then the ogre goes and handles the rest of the party. It's not likely for an ogre to be like, I'm going to pound his corpse, you know?
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
So you're saying knock me down to 0 hit points and then move on to the rest of the party is probably what you would do. If the dice dictated that.
You're no longer a threat, and it's really hard to kill people in 5e anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have death
Yeah.
saves, you have stabilization. There's all kinds of things you can do.
Yeah. If you're gonna cook it too, I find I cook the damage more than I cook the attack rolls. Like if something's gonna hit, it's gonna hit, and if I need to cook it, I'll just cook a little less or a little more damage depending on what's happening.
If there's a potential to really take them down to death, then you know about where they are in hit points, so just pull it back a bit. Yeah, I agree.
And I think this is probably clear to most listeners, but in case there's any who this isn't, when we say death, we're talking about a character being completely removed from the game versus a character being knocked down to 0 hit points and then unconscious.
Right.
Yeah, because in some cases you can, especially an ogre might be a good example. Like how many hit points do you have?
Me?
Or did yeah?
Not very many. I think I have like 20 something.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like an ogre possibly, if it rolls max damage on a critical hit, it might be able to do enough damage to actually kill you. Because there's like massive damage rules where if you take more than your hit points in damage, I think
And negative,
in the negative,
It's
Yeah.
So if
something like that.
If you're, my understanding is if, say for example, my hit points are 20 total, if someone dealt 40 damage to me in one go, that's enough to bring me to 0 and enough to bring me to negative 20. I'm completely dead.
We rip up your sheet.
Yeah.
Dead.
Make a new character.
Although I unless you're playing against a that's the thing. Unless you're playing against a DM, where the DM's kind of intent is to do that, I find it can't really happen unless the player almost does it on purpose. Like if you jump out of an airship or something because you think it's the best thing to do in the moment. Well, sorry, but when you hit the ground, you're going to die.
Right. Yeah. Or plummet an elevator with the whole party.
I think Falzarin thought talking was a good idea, and then really listening back, I thought it was all Bill's idea. Like that's how I went into listening, and then listening back, like Gozer really stuck it to him.
Like I said, there was a couple things I was thinking. I was thinking with a little luck, someone would come with me, which didn't happen. And then I was also really relying on color spray, which also didn't really work.
You learned how to use properly.
Yes, I sure
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
It's
a
teaching
learning
moment.
game. Yeah.
You did pull it off, at least.
I mean,
You did
We pulled it
finally
off.
blind the ogre. No, I mean like his color spray specifically. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess.
And I also think
suppose.
that death needs to be a real threat in the game.
Makes it more fun.
I fully, if I die, I'm happy that Shaft went out and hopefully in a blaze of glory.
With a bang?
Well, I have a
Yeah.
question for Bill. Next time we
Yeah.
come up against something that looks like it normally would attack us, are you going to try and talk to it?
not likely.
That's
Partly I thought that he he might be friendly, or I thought there was a decent chance that I might be able to kind of like work some magic.
Why did you think he might be friendly?
He was smiling, obviously.
You said he was smiling.
I do
At your
not
impending doom.
recall saying
Yeah,
that
no,
he
I don't.
was smiling.
I'm not sure that you said that. You
But
probably
yes,
didn't.
he was like standing and like waving both arms in the air.
Yeah,
That's a friendly thing.
That's an odd thing for someone to do who intends to kill you, right?
You don't. I'm gonna kill you over
Fake
here.
distress.
Okay. Hey, that's totally fair if that's how you think Falzner would have interpreted that in the situation. But just to answer the fudging thing, so I fudged 0 rolls that fight.
So I'm a lucky son of a
had
gun.
he hit you every single time, I wouldn't have fudged a single one. I wouldn't have fudged any of the damage.
Oh snap!
What would have happened had he hit and knocked you unconscious is he would have grabbed you by the leg and started dragging you back to where he wanted to take you.
And then we would have had to go.
Okay, so I may not have totally died. I would have been knocked unconscious.
Because they weren't there to murder you guys. He clearly had intent to take you back someplace. So yeah,
Well,
he didn't want to. He didn't
intend to
to.
murder Falzarin, but once he met his smiling, talkative, diplomatic face,
He wanted to
would
murder.
say-
Turned.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It took a couple of rounds with that flaming ball of fire before he really got angry.
So he was nice.
Right. But also the waving was not to you guys. He started waving when he saw you guys.
Oh snap!
Oh, I totally did not think of that.
The wolves.
Right, and then you guys got
And the
ambushed.
goblins.
And then Falzarin says, "Hey, this guy's waving to talk to me. Let's go chat."
Gosh, we're so dumb.
It's just funny too, because from like an outside observer, it sounded like you thought no matter what that had to be combat, but I mean, it sounded like there was a little bit of negotiation. It was going to be a very aggressive negotiation. It's like the negotiation is you come with us and do the thing we want you to do. I don't know. It sounded like that was possible. Who knew what that would have led to, right? It might have been more dangerous, but it did sound like the negotiation was kind of working at first.
Falzarin was just afraid to go on his own. He didn't want to leave the party.
Yeah, which is very fair. Like sometimes it's really important, I think, for characters that you really have to follow your character. If your character definitely would not go off alone with an ogre, don't do it.
Yeah. No, I think Falzarin's aware of the fact that he isn't all that strong by his own when he's by himself, and so he would not be all that trusting of an ogre, and be willing to venture off into some unknown place where there's potentially more bad guys who are going to,
Kill him.
Yeah.
I do think that Falzarin feels like he has something to prove, though. So I think it made sense that he stepped up. Because, I think the three of us pick on him a lot.
Does Falzarin think that, or does Bill think that about Falzarin?
Gozer thinks that.
I think it was a really good turning point where we actually tried to talk before trying to hurt, right?
I think so too. Yeah.
That's partly what Bill was thinking, to be honest. In the
Okay,
movie, I was thinking,
Bill.
you know what? I don't do a ton of role playing, I feel like, and I was trying to make an opportunity where I could maybe practice that a little bit, and hopefully things wouldn't turn out terribly bad.
Right. So in the episode, it was very clear that I was surprised that you, the wizard, was going to walk 150 feet away from your party to go speak to an ogre. It wasn't like, they're like 20 feet back or whatever. So so it was very clear I was surprised. But
You did
I
clarify.
liked
You
it.
gave him an out. You gave him an opportunity.
I certainly didn't want you to waste your initial color spray anyways, but no, I thought it was great, and Falzarin would have been a fucking moron if he went, took the ogre by the hand and went off wherever the hell he wanted to take you.
I have ice cream. Come in, man.
You got magic
Persuasion
ice
check
cream.
with disadvantage.
I have candy.
Yeah.
Get in this van.
So then the battle ensued a bit, and we were joined by, 3 wolves and some goblins and another ogre.
That's
I
right.
believe. Things went relatively well.
They went fine for Shaft, right?
Well, it's interesting. I did get to finally use my scimitar that I've been holding on to
You sure did.
You've had that scimitar for over
Was it
10
off
sessions.
mic? Was it off mic that Leland was like, "Hey, Shaft, when are you gonna use that scimitar?"
No. What happened on that is I was using both rapiers, and then I wanted to use our cleave action. So as we talked about the rapiers, we're stabbing through, and if I had extra damage, it could go into the other one. But I thought more thematically, I would take the scimitar and slice, and then take the rapier and poke. So I thought I'd give it a shot. And that's when we found out that scimitar had a curse on it, which turned old Shaft a little bit hairy.
Was there a name for that curse that you can tell us, Leland, or that you want to tell us?
There is not a name that I will divulge.
Okay, fair enough.
We still have the scimitar, so.
You do still have the scimitar, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was funny. I hope it didn't. From your explanation just there, my conscience is clear that I did not coerce you to use it.
No, you didn't.
You kind of brought it to his attention.
I did. I absolutely did. Because I was like, man, he's not using this fucking sword.
Well, you asked me about it.
Yes, I did ask you about it. And that was more frustration because of the overpoweredness of the rapier in 5e.
Right.
And
'cause
we
you
actually
asked
mentioned
me, yeah.
it in one of these episodes, like, why the hell would you use a weapon outputting a D8 as opposed to a D6? Despite though that scimitar is a +1 scimitar,
Right.
And we had that conversation of the interesting how the numbers work, where 1d6 +1 versus 1d8, you
Right.
have a higher lowest range,
Right.
but a lower highest. Yeah, it's
Right.
Right.
So we had that conversation, which was.
But that did not make me use it at all. It was completely
okay, good.
thematic. I had no intention of using it whatsoever. I was keeping it to sell, actually. I actually tried to give it to Bryn at one point in time, if you remember correctly.
Yes, Bryn almost did end up with it. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You start getting furry, we're like, what did you eat?
So Shaft being
have you
Shaft,
done?
as soon as he was cursed, there was nothing else we were going to focus on. I was going to let us focus on nothing other than me getting fixed.
Yeah, that was
Regardless.
a really, really great role play at the end of that episode. That was
Yeah.
awesome. I thought that was
Yeah,
really
that was. I
You're
agree.
like, fine. I really wanted him to like be fine with it for a couple episodes. Like, it's not getting worse. Let's go to Goldum. But no.
Now, if you would have gave me the ability to jump higher or multi-attack with bite, I would have stayed exactly that way.
good. I honestly thought about it, but I was not expecting you to use the scimitar when you did. So I had this rough idea of what I wanted to do with its effect, but I didn't have it fully fleshed out. So I erred on the side of caution and just made it strictly appearance-based, as opposed to giving you abilities that may turn out to be overpowered and I might regret it.
So wait, curses can give you powers that are good?
Well, it
Maybe.
depends on
I
how
don't
you
know.
look at it.
I
If
could
I would have
wait
killed
one
the
more
ogre,
episode.
would I would have grown to a full size and been a full-size halfling?
If you had killed the ogre, you would have taken on ogre characteristics.
Okay.
You would have had one big foot.
So you would have become more attractive.
No.
He talk
I will
like
It's
say,
impossible.
I will say though, even though you were afflicted with the wolf characteristics, had you killed something else, even under that influence, you would have changed to the next thing you killed.
Ah.
That's
Like
interesting.
a
So
fly?
it's not like a fly.
What if you just swatted at a fly with it? And then...
Yeah, I guess he'd
we'll
probably
never know.
sprout antennae.
Jeez. Really big ones?
Start puking acid on his food to slurp it back up.
Sick.
Yes.
Oh, no.
I'd
Just forget I asked.
Pay
Forget.
money for that to
Just
happen.
immediately thinking Jeff Goldblum in the remake of The Fly.
Yes,
This is
yes.
fully transforming, spitting up acid on that dude and melting his hand and his.
That bears the question: how much damage would this acid deal?
Yeah, good. Yeah, that is a good question.
That's
there you
what
go.
I'm
See,
saying.
that's-
I mean, I'm keeping this scimitar to either give to the right person for fun or take advantage of it if I feel that it could go my way.
Right? Would he... Okay, so like, theoretically, if he were to kill a paladin with it, would he look enough like a paladin to pass?
What race
Like-
is? Oh, like a paladin of cultists. You mean.
Yeah. Like,
If the
like
paladin
people
was a
guarding the towers.
human, if the paladin was human, there wouldn't really be a change, right? Because halfling is just a small human. But if he killed an elf, maybe he'd sprout.
I forgot
ears.
paladin wasn't a race. Sorry.
I'd lose my sleeves.
Yeah, if you killed if you killed Gozer, yeah, you'd suddenly bulge up, add an extra 60 pounds of muscle onto your 2.5 foot frame.
For the listener to get that joke, Leland's wearing a tank top right now.
Yeah, just look at
I
any
flex.
picture of Leland on the internet.
Leland's shirt is a sleeveless shirt that says "I flexed" and the sleeves ripped off.
The only sleeveless shirt I have is the Incorrigible Party shirt.
I mean, sleeved shirt.
Sleeve, sorry, yes, sleeve.
The only sleeved shirt you
See how
have.
it's so unnatural? I can't even say it.
Shoulders bare all day.
But still, white as a newborn baby's bottom. It's just,
You do have a glow to you on the camera.
So then we went off towards Victure. I think we
whoa,
had
whoa! Wait a second. You're
Oh, yeah?
overlooking. You
What?
are overlooking something incredibly important.
Thuft!
The singular best character we've ever had on the IP so far.
Oh yeah.
I'll agree
Thuff,
with that.
thuff, thuff, thuff.
Thuff, 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 thuff.
I think
He's
Gozer
such a
should
cutie.
talk about Thuft since
Thuft is my goblin. I'm his king.
It's like, you shall be my squishy.
I like him as long as he's useful.
Well,
I mean-
so far in the current episodes, he hasn't been that useful.
You've
Useful enough.
you've pushed his limits.
He remember when he went in swimming after the scimitar.
Yeah, he
Almost
got
drowned.
the sword.
Oh man!
So
I
is he
think
gonna-
Leland-
Sorry, is he going to be like our token little guy that gets us in trouble, like on every
That
one
was
of
what
these
Gozer
shows
was.
where?
Yeah, you already have Gozer. Yeah, Gozer.
Yeah.
Gozer fills that role. I'm actually thinking that I'm going to that if should Thuff survive, I think I'm going to level him up with you guys. Like
Yes.
when you
Do
guys
it.
level, he's going to level too.
You do an incredible job, Leland, of role
Yeah.
playing Theft.
Agreed.
Bill and I were talking about it. The way he talks, and there's doggies.
Yeah, but
and
he drastically changed between because session 19 and 20 was one of our play sessions, and then 21, 22 was our sessions with Pep. You know, the gap
Well-
between. And then further, in some of our further, like Thuff, like changed. Like one, Thuff doesn't refer to himself in the third person when we first meet him,
That's true.
Oh.
but now
That's
Thuff
true.
does.
He doesn't
I'm
refer to
forgetting
himself
that.
as all. He didn't talk though. He didn't really talk
He
at all.
he does use he uses like I. He
Oh.
does. He talks quite a bit actually.
We
Well, no, in the first-
actually
when we
were
first
like
met him.
fighting him. We were actually fighting him for a bit too. So like,
Oh yeah.
he didn't have a voice like that. And then once he like bowed down, and was like, "You're king, you're king." There really was a pause where he changed. I guess that would be where our play session
Yeah,
ended.
yeah. I'm
you
going
did a good
to.
job.
I'm going to say that I did it on purpose, and
Yeah.
that he's mimicking his
Of
how
course.
his king's patterns of speech, since mimicry is the sincerest form of flattery.
DM level 100 achieved.
Yeah, no, I it was funny listening, like when I was editing session 19 before Thuff was Thuffed, and I knew going into that fight, I'm like, it would be. Well, I mean, how goblin? I knew should a goblin or two be alive, they would certainly try to run away or surrender because they're cowards. And I was like, oh, that would be cool if they joined the party. So I was like, I was actually like, I don't know if it was evident, but I was like almost desperately trying to orchestrate one of these goblins to be left alive when he was like trying to get away
He
from
did
you.
retreat. Yeah, he definitely retreated. And he like threw down his weapons. Yeah.
Threw his buddy in front.
He
of
threw
the
his
thing.
buddy in front of your
Yeah.
critical hit, yeah.
Theft is smart.
Was Thuft the biggest one? Trying to remember.
Thuff was the biggest one, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's a
Which is
little
saying
big
something for a
boy.
goblin, I guess.
Yeah.
The listener will in the next few sessions will very clearly see that like Thuff kind of gets a little depowered once he once he joins up with you guys.
He just becomes like Gozer's pet, basically.
Yeah, basically. Gozer now has a familiar.
He's doing what he needs to survive. If he is too powerful, he'll get killed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Essentially, he's something for you to play with when you fail perception checks.
That's true. You're like, Gozer was distracted.
And I
with,
mean, so far, like, yeah, Thuft has proven to be loyal in these short few episodes we've had him. But like, is he scared of Gozer? Does he actually love Gozer?
Yeah, it's interesting to think about, like, if we ever make it back to where he's rejoined with a bunch of his goblin
spoiler,
kin.
we're not there yet.
It'll be interesting to see where Thuft's true allegiance
Loyalties,
lies. Yeah, exactly. Is he gonna turn and run from us and, you know, try and do us in?
And that takes us right to where I interrupted John about Thuft, like where you guys veered to Victor, the nearest city, to try to find a cure. I thought for sure Thuft was enticing you enough to want to check out those goblin caves.
Man.
It was tempting.
I thought
I
for
was
sure
like-
you'd take that bait, but
Elena was
it
dead
totally
set
makes
against
sense.
it.
There's no way Shaft would go.
No, hell no.
To go to talk to some weird talking wolf that may or may not, on the word of a goblin, know what's wrong with him or how to fix him.
I think initially when I wasn't sure it was the sword that did that,
Right.
I was all for. I thought I was cursed in some other way. I was all
Sure,
for
yeah,
going
yeah.
wherever. But yeah, once I found out he was of no use, I don't care. I would have actually left the party. We would have split
Really?
if they would have
That
went
would've
the
been
other way.
interesting. That would've
No,
been cool.
Shaft would not have. He would go to Victor. He knows somebody in
like-
Victor.
Elena did not want to go back to that mountain, but Bryn, once you said there's all the shinies, I mean, she was getting there.
Well, Gozer definitely wants to go back someday and sneak in and take over the goblins and then use the goblins to take over the rest of the mountain.
That's Gozer's retirement plan right there.
Yeah. Gozer will be king.
Freedom 45.
Didn't someone say queen and then you were like, I'm king?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love, call me king.
fine.
I'm
It's
king.
freaking so good.
That is so good. Yeah. And then finally, 20-something minutes into us talking about these episodes with our NPC guest, we finally get to where we
In
encounter
usual
our
fashion.
NPC guest.
We have to quick cross a river for 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, we had a good.
Oh yeah.
At least.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's,
I wonder if the listener could tell when we first saw Pep that, like, his video screen, we do this over Google Hangouts, was blank with just his picture. And then when we were introduced to Roland, which we didn't ask his name for how long, forever, we could see him and we were revealed as to what he was
Yeah, he
looking
turned
like.
his camera on
Yeah.
and was like fully decked out with a crossbow
Fantastic.
and armor and everything. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
great.
Leland perhaps jokingly implied that I needed to dress up. So
Yeah.
So cruel.
I think Leland was totally kidding around, and you're like, "All right, sweet."
yeah,
No,
I could
that's
dress
great.
up. I had the
takes his
sword and everything. I had a
participation
crossbow.
Yeah,
It was great.
It was
Oh
amazing.
man, it looks so
Yeah,
I
good.
was not
That was
expecting
good.
that.
I thought it was interesting. We were talking a bit before we recorded that episode, and I think Pep said something to the effect of the new D&D players might take a long time to like try to cross over something or do something, and then we immediately take 20 minutes to cross a river. And I thought, okay, he's gonna think, what the hell did I get myself into?
I also
he probably
think
still
that-
does, but still.
I also think that the three of us thought about, okay, if we send Falzarin in this river with a rope in his hand, is there anything for him to throw the rope at? But we didn't care and made him get to the middle of the river before. Like, we did.
You guys just routinely bully Falzarin into doing
We kind of
stupid
do.
shit.
Unbelievable.
But, like, Falzarin could have spoken up, like, hey guys, there's not any trees over here.
I
Well,
honestly didn't even think about it.
As you finally, eventually encountered the swim DC to get across this river was not very difficult. And I wasn't even planning, like, obviously I wasn't planning any of that stuff. I was just like, I literally looked at the map and I was like, okay, you guys go to Victor. Oh, wait, you have to cross this river. And then it turned into a whole fucking thing.
Well, you should have made
course
the
it
river
did.
5 feet wide, Leland.
I should have, yeah.
It reminds me of whenever people are like struggling to like swim and like get across. They're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna make it," and then they like stand up and it's
Yeah.
up to like their waist.
It's 3 feet.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Definitely.
oh, okay.
That's about it. I was 100%. I'm like thinking to myself, man, yeah, falls are in. He's gonna get swept down this river. He's like, I don't know what your strength is, Falzer, but like, there's no way he's getting across this river.
Yeah, it's
So-
not great.
I'm really interested to know, Pep, what information did you have before we got on the episode? What did Leland tell you?
Well, I knew nothing about this impassable river.
So he just sat there patiently,
I
like.
can't believe he didn't mention it.
No, he didn't mention that. But no, he gave me a little bit of information. It was basically, what's happening in the town. The fact that I would have a partner, and that I'd be waiting at the gate to, talk, stop, get rid of everyone's weapons and whatnot. A little bit about what the illness was going on in the town and that. And he definitely threw me for a loop, though, because within 20 seconds of introducing me, my partner goes mad and gets killed. And it's like, I don't even know why you told me I had this partner if you're just going to kill him so fast.
Welcome to the Incorrigible party, Pep.
Yeah, so I was kind of, I was ready to improvise a little bit, and he really put me on the spot fast with that one, so it was good, though. It was
Yeah,
good.
I was debating whether or not I should let you know, but that was actually kind of more of a last-minute thing that I decided to do, too, because I'm like, I want to kind of quickly get across the implications of this illness, and what better way to have a dude succumb to it and murder someone right in front of them. So,
Yeah.
hence the importance of confiscating weapons of people going into the city.
Leland, did you think we would give our weapons up? Like,
I did not know how that was going to go. I did another tidbit that I had fed to Pep was like, you know what, this party is definitely the type of party that could be open to bribes. Like if you make it clear that some coin will get them through, they'll definitely play ball.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
Yeah.
I paid up way too much.
Essentially, yeah.
I was happy with how much I paid.
Having to give up my longbow, I was putting up a fuss. Yeah.
I like I like that some of you tried to say you just take your weapons in under your cloak. The longbow was one, and it's like, I don't know how that's going to
It's like,
happen.
I'm wearing
And
a cloak.
I think Gozer had like a great axe or something as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
She's
like,
got a great big back too, so
That's fair. That's fair.
Great big back.
for days.
She's got lats for days.
I tried to be really clever about the bribe, but nobody took the bait either, because I said
That was
you needed to clear your
hilarious.
weapons, and then Leland didn't tell me anything. I just added this on the spot. I'm like, and approximately how much gold the party has, because that was how I was going to judge how much you needed to bribe. So if you guys said something like, oh, we have about 2,000, I'd say, okay, well, how about I mark it down as 1,900?
Yeah.
And we just forget about your weapons, something like that. But instead, you all instantly went to, why is he asking this? No, you don't get to know how much
Right.
money.
I was doing the same thing back to you, though. I want to
a
know how much you
personal
made
question.
a year,
Yeah,
so I can figure out how much it would take to bribe you.
yeah. You wanted the power in that situation.
Did Leland tell you that we might kill you? You might have to do some combat.
Didn't. No, I don't think I was expecting as much violence. And I think at one point, Gozer, it seemed fairly clear that Gozer might do the deed.
Yeah, I was thinking
I might
so.
lose my head there, but
you're lucky that there were other guards up on the walls with ranged weapons that
That
could-
is why they were there. Don't worry, Pep. I took every precaution possible to ensure your safety when dealing with Gozer.
Could have been real bad.
if I thought I was going to have to fight the party, I assume Leland would have given me some stats.
You know, that actually might be a good thing to start doing just in case.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you want to fight me? Okay, I'm going to pull out my enchanted broadsword.
There you go.
Plus
Did he
6
give you your
broadsword.
name? Did Leland tell you your name was Roland, or what? How did that all?
No, I just made that up on the spot.
There you go.
I don't. So far, I don't give the NPC guests their names. I give them everything else, but
They come up with it.
I don't need to tell them what their name is.
I did love the Roland Wright. That was funny.
Yeah.
I would like to say
yeah.
I've been sitting on my brother and sister's names for a while and waiting for that to come up. So that
Well,
was,
Oh, right.
We've heard what your brother's name is. I don't
Rod.
think we've heard your sister's
well,
name.
I said two brothers actually on the
Spike.
recording.
Rod and
there's
Spike.
Rod and Spike, and I have a
Yeah.
sister, but that name will come out on the show.
Oh no.
That's amazing.
It's got to be
Oh,
natural.
no.
Yeah. Has to be organic.
It has to. Yeah, it has to come up.
Yeah, it could potentially be another love interest for Falsey. Welcome to the family.
The listener will be able to tell which episode we record next because Bryn will just straight up be like, "So, Chef, do you have any sisters?"
That's called metagaming.
Metagaming, meta-schmaming, whatever.
Oh, it hurts me so much when people do that.
I'm just kidding.
No, a lot of people do it seriously though. There was actually a moment. I caught up and listened to some of the extra episodes. Leland sent them over to me, and someone was watching. I want to say it was Gozer, and saw some yellow eyes in the distance.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been Bill. After Gozer just kind of ignored it, and Bill asked, "Hey,
Anything happened? Did you see?
yeah,
anything?
did anything happen last night?" Now, admittedly, that's fine because after she gave a quick description and then it ended, you just let her go to bed. I've seen situations where people are a lot more aggressive. Like if you said no, let's just say she had said no, for example, because she didn't care. She was like,
Yeah.
"No, nothing happened."
You push the matter.
Yeah, well, really, for you really shouldn't push it because you don't know that something happened. So if you ask
Right.
and she says no, why
Okay.
why fight it,
night.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've had people fight hard when someone's like they don't want to tell them
Yeah.
something.
Did
and
she
they-
tell me?
Oh,
I'm
that's
trying to remember.
She told
She did.
you,
She did tell you, yeah.
and then you didn't see anything, and then you told me that you saw
Right,
yellow beady
right.
eyes, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, like the way that it all went out with all of you, that was perfect. Like the little bit of information you asked was pretty in character. Like, hey, did you see anything last night? That's reasonable.
Right.
And then reasonable answer, and the information got passed really well. Yeah.
Well,
so
and also Gozer is the type of she would not go out of her way to say anything, but I don't feel like she wouldn't go out of her way to deny you any information either. So
Yeah.
literally, the query will get you the info from Gozer. It's just otherwise she doesn't give a shit who knows what.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much.
Shh. So say what it is, not care what it is, and just go to bed.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
just a
much.
pair of eyes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing attacked us. We were fine.
Yeah. Nothing to
I
tell.
love it. Literally, there's half the party is vigilant, but the other half is like, yeah, I'm gonna roll back over and go to sleep.
Who's the other half? Who would you lump in with Gozer?
Falzarin.
Shaft?
He's pretty
No.
self-confident.
I went back to sleep when Bryn was watching because Bryn was watching. What the hell?
Yeah, I got a real chuckle out of that when I heard that. It's like, okay, I'll walk over to where I'm supposed to be keeping watch, and then I'll go to sleep. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah,
It kind of
that
like
seems realistic.
character-wise makes sense, and I'm going to be awake anyway. I only needed 4 hours, so it's pretty much gonna happen every time.
Yeah.
Right.
Shaft knows how. Yeah, it's only been a couple weeks, but he knows.
That's why Shaft goes after you sometimes, right? Way to do it.
I can't,
So,
I can't speak for Shaft or Rod or Spike. Spike is kind of a. I don't know, where'd you get that one from? Sounds kind of painful.
Yeah, we'll see. No, I did write a lot of some backstory stuff and sent to Leland, so he does have things he can weave in if he so opts.
Yeah, if I get around to reading it.
Oh.
I was kidding. That's a kid. Of course, I read and memorize all the backstory stuff you give me.
Uh-huh.
Do we have any listener questions?
Yeah, we have several.
Well, let's just get to the end. We got one more little bit to go through, and why don't we finish kind of the recap and reflection?
Sure, yeah.
We're still
Okay.
recapping. God,
Yeah,
guys.
Well,
So-
you guys finally get into
4
we
episodes.
take
Like-
forever. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so we finally get past Roland, and then we go in and sort of quickly go through it. I think we go and find a contact that I had in Victor at some point, Nina, and she has fallen sick to the madness.
Yeah.
The things that I think I'm most concerned about from Shaft's perspective is the fact that they have built this tower within a very short period of time. There's a new mayor, and when the new mayor came into town is when this sickness occurred. And that there's
He seems like he's handling it well. It's suspiciously well.
I don't think I really understand how this madness spreads. It seems like everybody thought it was an airborne virus, but apparently it's it's
according
not.
to Mayor Quincy, that's how it's going around.
Right. And I was pretty convinced that Mayor Quincy had something to do with it until somebody brought up the idea that Mayor Quincy might have fallen sick and be mad also, and that's why nobody's seen him recently. So there's a couple options there, but we all ultimately just don't give a shit and leave and go to Golden.
Well, we
After
care
you
about
get cured.
ourselves.
Yeah. Got you
We
cured.
don't. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed, after I got cured, which was the main reason to be there, I was going to potentially go put Nina out of her misery.
Yeah.
But decided not to.
I thought that was more of a, you forgot you were going to do that.
No, I think in the back of my mind, if there's a way we can ever go back or find a cure for whatever the madness is, I think it has something to do with the blue light from the tower. So, and there's something else with the way the city's being run that is odd. Over the last 2 years, a lot of things have changed. So,
Yeah, something about this mayor makes Falzern a little bit suspicious. The timing.
Mercury poisoning.
Yes. The timing of him showing up right at the same time when everything goes nuts.
The hat industry in Victor is booming.
Everyone's got
Mad Hatter.
yeah.
and then we ran into the potion salesman.
Yeah.
And I believe we all rolled and we believed what he was saying in our roll, correct? We believed that his potions were legit. Is that
No.
true?
I don't think I rolled.
I don't think Gozer cared.
I can't recall.
Yeah, you guys
Bryn
were
was
very
really trying to-
dismissive of everything he was telling
Yeah, but I can't recall, but I thought we rolled and said we thought he was being honest about either what he was selling or what
Bryn
he
was,
thought he was selling.
Pretty pissed at Shaft for even entertaining the thought.
Well, I think Leland sort of played it off as he's putting this potion together, and it seems to be helping. He's been drinking it, and he's fine, so it must work, right?
Yeah, but he seemed kind of mad, didn't he?
No, he seemed like a nice salesman.
He was angry when you called him a quack, basically. You called
Well-
him you pretty much called him a quack.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. Because I think he was exuding that, overconfidence, that, ego that the mad people thought they could do anything and they're invincible.
Oh, okay.
So I thought for sure he's, on his way to being completely mad.
Oh,
he
so
thinks
he's halfway
he's
there.
unstoppable. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't pick up at
Because
it
remember,
at
Nina
all.
was like, I can, she felt like, I'm fine. I was blinded, now I see, type thing.
But Bryn wasn't
Right.
present for that, was she?
Bryn was not present for that. Metagaming.
The only reason I was
Pew-pew.
even interested in having that talk is just in case we were already infected. I wanted to possibly have something that maybe could cure us if it was real, right? As a possibility, because we didn't know. We still don't know if we're infected. It could be something that takes a long period of time to show itself.
Don't give Leland any ideas.
Well, he also gave you his own little theory on what was going on too. He wasn't convinced it was airborne either, but
No,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes the most sense to Falzern. These towers have been erected and started doing what they're doing. There's very obvious effects that they have on the fauna. Plants are dying, and then there's animals that are behaving erratically. And
Who said plants are dying?
Sucks
well,
all
where you came from, the forest is
Yeah,
decimated.
yeah, but this tower in Victor is not emitting the same blue light.
not the
Blue
clock
tower.
tower.
Okay.
I'm talking about the blue towers.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the clock tower.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not a big stretch to think that it can also cause people to act, crazy, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And then we had our last interaction with Roland. Went back and got our stuff, which I believe was just a matter of hours from when we went into the city.
an hour or two you spent.
So I paid him a year's salary to go in for a couple hours. So
Totally
yeah,
worth it. Hey, you got what you wanted.
yeah, we
Got a
did.
quick shave.
I wish I could have kept the robe.
He
But I
collected
did.
it?
Yeah, I had to put the information for Detmer into the robe, and so ultimately, I hope that Roland will find better employment in Drakal at some point in time, and work for the underground sort of crime lord. I guess not really crime lord. What would you call Detmer? Not a businessman, but
The
a
mob boss.
Mafia
mob boss,
Don.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the name I gave you, Pep. So if Roland goes to Drakal, he would get a potential job as a doorman,
Hired muscle.
hired muscle. Yeah.
Hired muscle. Hey, I mean, you gave him enough money, you could probably afford the trip.
In style. So what was your take on the whole your part and the interaction and everything?
It was a lot of fun. It was the whole idea of adding NPCs to D&D is something I've always wanted to do. I've kind of done it in real life a couple times and pulled people in, had them wait and like hide in the bedroom or something like that to come out and join the party for a session. And never really seems to work as well in real life as it does in something like this. Because in this, you only planned it for it to be an hour or two, so it's not a big deal. But, having someone wait in a bedroom for like 2 hours until it's time for them to come in is a little, it's a little bit different.
So would you for future reference, would you think that we should give you NPCs more information or let it sort of play out as it does? Did you feel like you were limited in what you could say because you were afraid you would say something that would screw up the adventure, or did you feel like you had the freedom to do whatever you wanted?
It probably does depend a lot on the experience of the person you're throwing in. I feel like I have a good amount of experience with D&D, so I kind of know what I can and can't do without making Leland's life a living hell.
So why didn't you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I could have just kind of like bust out a spell book and said I'm a wizard now and like teleported the party to the elemental plane of fire. And Leland would just be like, no, he doesn't do any of that. Ignore all that. Like he's not going to let me. But, if I decided to say, tell you guys about an assassin in the town that I suggest you should find to kill the mayor or something like that, that's something maybe Leland could work with, like I kept it pretty in line. I didn't really take too many risks, but I don't feel like I would have done anything too difficult. But I think it really depends on the experience. You got to give them enough so that they know what they need to say, and then, kind of hope that if they're going to improv, they don't improv too far.
Yeah, Leland, what do you think? Are you nervous about NPCs maybe derailing your overall scope of what you're trying to do?
I'm not nervous. Isn't the word, and like I'll roll with whatever.
I'm taking you to the elemental plane of fire next time I'm on.
All right, fine.
Let's go.
You'll roll a D100 and accidentally put everybody in a volcano and die.
Nice.
All
Total
the
party
volcanoes
kill.
in Aspara.
Yeah.
I am an evocation wizard.
So you know how badly fire burns you.
I was going to say,
Right.
you're going to die.
Right.
But no, that's not where my concerns about the NPC guests are. I know I don't know if we said this on mic, but I was and still am on the nay side of that vote. As much fun as they are, and as good a time as we all have, and as great as the episode turned out so far. I'm not nervous about the story breaking. I'm annoyed with having to potentially throw away shit that I want to do based on something someone else does or says.
Right.
You're a control
That's fair.
freak, is what you're saying.
So you're saying that
Yeah.
it can potentially delay or even maybe remove the possibility of something happened that you have planned for us if we choose to go left.
That's true of any episode with all four
I was
of
going to
us.
say, let's face it, that's exactly what happens with the four of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all you're doing is adding a temporary extra character that you've actually
no
given
control over.
some direction to. If anything, they're more controlled than any of us. You're just making assumptions that You're making assumptions that you think you know what Gozer's going to do or what Shaft's going to do based on
They're
your experience.
just less controlled than him controlling them completely. That's all. That's all he's saying.
Pep was very generous with saying that not much info was thrown at him, but the info that I feel like I have given our NPC guests so far is everything short of a leash that I put them on and lead them where I want them to go.
Yeah.
If you ask me, but yes, those are all great points. Those all completely make sense. I hear them and I validate what you're saying.
So we win.
Yes.
Why do I feel like we're in marriage counseling all of a sudden?
I'm glad we won this argument.
No.
Whelan's like, I hear you.
This is
I see where you're coming from.
I don't see it as an argument because we're going to continue to do NPC guests because they are fun. And yes, I do like having.
I was totally kidding.
This is
I
all
do
about
like
fun.
having new voices and different voices and where those could lead to no matter how controlling or over controlling I am.
What are you trying to say? You're sick of us?
I'm trying to say we need some new blood. It's 2 months is too long right now. No, what I'm trying to say in summation, as I am wont to ramble often, that I am a control freak. Yes, you're right, Emily. I am a bit of a control freak.
Okay, tell us something we don't know.
He loves sleeves.
I think to Pep's point, yeah,
I'm sorry.
the more comfortable one is in role playing, the more they're gonna know what they where the limitations should really be, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I know when I asked Pep a lot of questions, he sort of gave the answers to be vague enough where it didn't hold anything down. Have you ever been to Drakal, right? He paused for a second, and he goes, yeah, some time ago. But not like, oh, yeah, I know Drakal. And then I could follow up with, what's the name of the bar that you frequent in? And then I could just, really roll with that. I do with the Leland all the time. Every time we see something, I ask what the name of it is, just to make sure that you can.
So the difference there is when you do it with me, one, either I already have that figured out, or I'm also making it up on the spot, and then making it canon, and it's fine because I was probably already planning to have something like that there, or even not, like magic.
Right.
And that's your right as a DM to say what is canon, what isn't. So I can appreciate your perspective, Leland, where it's a little bit, you're bringing in this wild card who, thankfully Pep has been great and Patrick was also great. But someone could potentially be like, this, and this.
No, but again, you're wrong though, because the NPC guest is not the wild card. The four of you are still and always will be the wild cards, and I'm saying that completely seriously and non-condescendingly, because when Shaft, I know you as a role player, John, you like to do that spitball stuff, and when you're firing back and forth with an NPC guest, and it sounds great, it's awesome, but then you are diving too deep, and you are crossing the line, not the NPC guest.
That's
right.
fair.
I agree.
Oh, and that's like metagaming though, because you really want to talk to Pep. So.
And I only do it for a minute just for fun.
That was no criticism and no not meaning to damper any of.
Sure, but I would like to say, Pep can lie too. Pep could tell us there's a magical world around the corner where if you go down into the cave, you're going to be able to teleport into a new world where everything's lollipops and rainbows. But when we go there, it just doesn't happen. I mean, he can tell any. So
you're saying that Wolfgang could have lied to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But,
sorry.
If
Roland.
Yeah. Wait. Who are we
Wrong
talking about?
NPC.
But to that point, if we want to have someone who's also newer to D&D stuff and not used to role playing, then that may or may not occur to them that they could lie in a situation.
Well, right. That was my original question to Pep. Do you think there should have been more for future NPCs for us to learn a little better on how to make this work? Did he feel that he had the information he needed? Did he feel like too constrained or too, like when Elena first started playing and she went into a cave and she was by herself, she went, I don't know what to do because I can do anything. Yeah. And if you bring an NPC guest on and then you put them in a situation where you ask them a question or you put them someplace, they might just go, I don't know what to do because there's too many options.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Leland needs to give enough meat to you to be able to say, here's sort of my boundaries to live within?
Right,
I
and
think-
Pep
yeah.
gave the answer where it's going to depend on the guest.
Yeah.
And that basically is what it boils down to. So I have developed a 172 questionnaire that we will
There you go.
provide to all future NPC guests that they can
I
fill
knew
out,
that's
and
where
I
this
can
is
get
going.
a profile on them, so I can then sell to other analytics companies for a profit
For a
And maybe
profit.
come to the next convention.
and craft to fund my next convention trip and to craft the best NPC guest experience that we could ever have.
There,
love
that's
it.
the answer I was looking for.
Basically.
It's funny too, because personally, I feel like less information is better for me. And yeah, to Leland's credit, you did give me a lot of what I would need, which is good. But you didn't give me what I would consider a lot of information. Like I don't know the name of all the towns they've been to. I don't know all the
Right,
NPCs they've interacted with. Like all that kind of stuff.
I mean, maybe if you were a listener.
That's true.
But
And
you've obviously listened to the few you were in since, so I will give you credit for that.
Yeah, see, my original idea whenever I was invited on is if I'm an NPC, I've never met any of you before, so I wanted to come into it without heard anything.
Oh.
Now I'm starting to backtrack and go back through the episodes, but yeah, originally I wanted to come in with knowing nothing, because yeah, because
That
like
actually
yeah.
brings
That makes sense.
that brings about a thought I had, which is I don't know if it would be too time consuming or kind of too cumbersome for Leland to spend a bit of time describing what an NPC sees when he sees us, because we may have, in your case where you hadn't listened at all. So you don't necessarily even know what Gozer looks like, or that Gozer is an orc or
Right.
anything
Yeah,
like that.
I
So-
100% should have done that for Pep, especially with Shaft looking like a
Yeah.
wolf man.
We sort of forgot about that.
I completely did.
We
and
did.
Totally dropped the ball on that. And you're right, Billy. Absolutely is something
Yeah.
that I should be doing.
Bill wants to clarify that he's dashing, and a handsome wizard.
Your words, not mine.
Also, maybe I should treat NPC guests as less as NPC guests and more as player.
Yeah, almost like a visiting player.
Right.
That's
But
a good way to look
line
at
is
it.
that line is difficult to draw.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because I will always want an NPC guest spot to have a point and to have a tidbit or two of information to relay to the party, like I would do if I were controlling that NPC. Maybe I should. Maybe that's not the way to go with it, though.
Well, in some ways, you do that with the players too, though. Maybe when an adventure first starts, you might feed a little bit of them a little bit of information that's relevant to the campaign. So it's not that different in that kind of way.
Right.
Like they might know some of the things. Like I don't know exactly how Shaft. I don't know exactly how Shaft's like family has led into things, but clearly some of it is bleeding into the story. Like he had a friend from another city, so like that seemed like it's a little bit that was kind of fed either from player to DM or like from DM to player, right?
Right. What we're doing, a lot of things on the show, like we didn't listen to each other's backstories. We also have Leland is adding things in at the end of episodes that sometimes we don't listen to or shouldn't listen to. That sort of gives us little tidbits of things that's going on in the world that we may not know. And of course, we fed back and forth information to him about our backstories that the other characters don't know. And what I really like about what we're doing, giving the audience something to listen to that they know that our characters don't know. So we experience it on mic for the first time, and the audience knows, why that thing is there, but we don't. So they get to go, and they're don't touch that thing.
And they're
But we don't
screaming
know.
at us saying,
Yeah, we
"What are
don't
you
know not
doing,
to touch
you
it."
fools?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. And yeah, this latest clip that we had at the end of session 22, I overestimated the amount of information that I thought the party knew. So that was why I was like, oh, it doesn't really matter if you listen to this one.
Yeah, I was surprised by it.
The
to
one
be
from
honest.
session 16, I had said, don't listen to this one until we get to the point, and then I'll let you guys know. And it just so happened we got in to the point in recording where you hit the point where that little post credit scene was relevant
Right.
and not spoilery for you guys.
Right.
So very quickly after I put it together, I was like, okay, well, you guys can now listen to this, right?
Which has not been released yet, correct, Leland? The episode 16 post?
The 16 has.
16.
Yeah, it's been released, but we haven't ran into that
Oh, no.
Oh, no,
character.
yeah, no, we haven't.
That was one of our listener questions from Jessica. She basically was like, should I have known what was going on at the end of the episode there? I'm confused. Who was that? And then she's like, admittedly, I haven't listened to all the episodes, so, like, if you've already answered this, ignore me.
Yeah, we should probably go
but-
right to the questions now. We've already sort of...
Yeah, I mean, I think
wrapped
we
everything up.
wrapped up. I mean, we ended with you guys leaving the city and like camping
And Pep
10 feet from the city walls. Like you're almost still in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, just didn't want to be in the city.
To answer the first question that came up naturally is, you might recognize who 16 is describing, but
Not necessarily.
if you don't, that's
Yeah.
okay.
I was hoping that it would be very clear.
It's not super clear.
Really?
I don't know, in my opinion, like, even the way you described it, like, when the scene occurred, right? Like, that's coming up.
Right.
I remember being like, oh, there was a light bulb moment of being like, that's who it is, which we hadn't listened to 16. So.
I like the way it went down. I think
Yeah.
Leland did a great job of... You don't need to put it right there in their face. I think later
Well, yeah.
on things become clear as it goes.
Yeah, I like that. Some people might get it, some people might not.
Right. What is this listener's name?
Jessica.
Jessica. Don't feel bad if you don't know who that is. He'll come around.
It'll...
I don't
Yeah.
I don't think I would have probably got it.
I don't think I would have either.
Yeah.
Really? What? Okay. I'm sorry. I am flabbergasted that
I
Party
think you
members-
underestimate.
I'm
He
not
said
very...
he didn't have any hands.
I
mean,
know.
Okay. So Jessica, that's a big clue. There's no hands. on
I
this
think
guy.
I may be overestimating the worth and value of my NPCs then clearly.
I guess the hand thing is a bit of a giveaway if you're paying attention to who we've come across who doesn't have hands anymore.
I will say, because this is coming out after episode 22 is released, I listened to the end of episode 22 and afterwards was like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, what is happening?
I haven't
Yeah,
listened to it yet.
Bill
I don't-
hasn't. John hasn't.
I listen to it, but I'll say it at this point in time. I wish everyone else hasn't listened to it. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
that
man.
was a.
And
I
that
fucked that one up.
and I think when we get to like episode 26, you'll understand why.
Yes.
For that reason.
Yeah.
One of the best things is that, like, in general, it gives the listener an idea of what's going on in the same world at the same time.
I agree, and like I was saying, I think before when we were talking on Discord, I would prefer it if Leland at the end of every episode, like he leaves a pause at the end after the credits, that he should always do something that's happening somewhere else in the world. And just
That's
because
a lot of work for Leland.
We're gonna have to start paying him more.
that's okay. I'm okay with Leland doing more work, but I think
Of course.
it builds more, that synchronicity of what's going on, because we've stated before, even the after parties, that there is stuff going on in this world as we're traveling through it. There is a timeline that Leland has, and getting little pieces, he could put a little piece out there of something that's happening somewhere else in the world that may or may not ever really feed into where we are, but it sort of gives a feeling.
Right. So that's interesting. I didn't quite catch on that that's what you were implying in the Discord every episode. So just remember, though, at this point, it's like been less than 2 weeks of you guys adventuring.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's literally been like 12 days. So world events aren't happening every 3 hours. Right? Like, like when we have 3 sessions that span a single day, that's weird, right?
Okay,
It's
so like as a player listening back, I was more suspicious of the clock tower than I originally was, etc. So like Bill hasn't heard it yet. I'm gonna
Yeah,
spoil
don't-
it.
You gotta-
The listener would have heard it though. I'm
To
not
Pep's
spoiling
point
anything.
earlier, you can't unhear things,
Yeah.
right?
All
And it
right,
makes
well,
it more
Take your
difficult
headphones out.
as a character.
And also, but the reason I didn't listen is because I'm not super confident of my acting skills at this point, and I think that it would probably, it might anyway, if I know something that Falzern shouldn't know, it might influence what I make Falzern do.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, I think I said at one point in time, I'll go to the extreme of the opposite way just to make sure that it doesn't seem like I'm metagaming.
Yeah, but that's still metagaming. You're still metagaming.
Reverse metagaming.
That's right.
We shouldn't start our next episode like, you know what, Falzern? Maybe we should get in touch with Isabella.
No.
Where's that rock thing that she gave?
Right. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I think, what do you think, Pep? Do you think, I mean, I don't think you've heard any of those little backstory things, but essentially at the end of the episode, there's a pause. And then,
Bill's headphones are out. It's a perfect time to describe it.
yeah, and then Leland will talk about something else that's going on in the world that either has happened in the past or something that may be happening somewhere that's in our timeline. And then we don't listen to that or shouldn't listen to that.
Yeah, I did actually hear the most recent one, and especially from how you're all talking about it, it really sounds like the end credits to Marvel movies to me. Where it's
Yeah.
like, some people really get it, and then other people, like at the end of Avengers,
That's
and
what's
Thanos
up.
is there and smiles, and like about a quarter of the people in the audience are like, who's that? What's going
This
on?
purple asshole.
Who's
Yeah.
this purple
Right.
guy? And then their friend beside them is like, that's Thanos! Thanos is coming! And so
Idiot.
it's... Yeah, you idiot. And so it's so great. And I imagine the same thing with this. Like, if Leland talks about some character off in the distance, and I remember last time after the episode was over, I kind of joked and talked with you about, like, liches, for example. So maybe, Leland talks about a character, and then that character, like, fiddles with a little ring with a skull on it or something, and it's like, they'll never kill me. And then,
Right.
like, the average player is going to be like, oh, that guy's probably a lich. And so they have this thing, like, I think there's a lich that's involved. But then
Yeah.
for
I'll
all
tell you
of
right now, I'm not your average player. What's a lich?
It's we talked about this last time, but it's like an undead type of sorcerer character that you essentially can never kill them, because when they die, they just like go back to some sort of thing, like a ring or an amulet or something like that, and then they reform from that amulet.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
so
for
it's
all
like a
the
bad
noobs
guy.
out there like me.
Yeah.
That's what a lich is.
Yeah, but it's the same. Like, that's what it makes me think of, and with these too, it's the same thing as, like I said, with all the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
Some little thing is at the end, and maybe it's going to be important, maybe it's not.
Right. I think that's what makes people want to listen to the next episode to go, what the hell was that I just heard?
Yeah.
Just like you said, your friend was saying,
Yeah.
what was that all about? Who I don't know who that person
Jessica
was.
is a listener. I didn't say she's a friend. I'm just kidding. We have other listeners than just friends, but she is a coworker and friend. Yeah.
All right,
Hey,
Bill,
Jess.
we got any other questions?
Well, that was only
she
a part
had
of
a
what
she had a
asked,
2-part
actually.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she said.
She
what
also
else did-
said she loves us. So I mean,
Oh.
that's good. That's good.
Well, she said she loves what
Pump
we've
our
been doing
tires a
so
little bit.
far. I don't.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Those are two different things.
She's a coworker that I introduced to this, and she's never played D&D, and now she's curious and like really really into it, and kind of learning how to go with us, how to play.
That's awesome.
So the other things that she asked about, she said that if a character is killed off, then you make a new character that joins the party, where that party is on the quest. She's wondering what you do in terms of difference in the strength or level between the characters who are already existing and the new character. Do they start at level 1? Do you level them up? How do you keep it interesting for the characters, so if you come across a new foe, it's that new bad guy is not going to be able to one shot this new character who might be at level 1 but might be a fair fight for the rest of the party. So I actually don't know the answer to that, so maybe.
Well, it hasn't happened in ours, but it's happened in my other group. And Pep, I'm sure you've had something similar. Have you ever had that situation where somebody died off and you had to add another person back in?
Yeah, I find in my experience, there's two different situations where it'll happen. It's kind of like it just naturally happens, in which case I think you bring them back equal strength, maybe even give them some magic items that character would have. Bring them into the party as if they've always been there, strength-wise. But I've also had other characters or players who, like purposely killed their character off just because they wanted to try a new character out and stuff like that. And not to say that I want to punish them, but I punish them. You know,
Knew that was coming.
yeah, they might come in a level lower, or maybe they come in the same level, but they just don't really have much in the way of equipment, so they're going to be a little behind the party. You know, it's basically like you can play this new character if you want, but you can't. It's not a revolving door. I'm not just going to let you keep making a new character every 2 weeks. You know.
Whoever
That seems
dies
fair.
has to come back as a cleric.
Yeah.
Never.
Definitely. I'll do it.
You
Wanna
guys
be-
don't need a cleric.
wanna
So
be a
far,
druid.
so good. Yeah, druid would be cool.
I'm gonna come back as a rogue 2.0.
So what are your thoughts?
So
on
if
that
any of
question,
you
Louis?
guys die, yeah, you'd come back at an equivalent level of the rest of the party. But I suppose it depends on your DM's choice of leveling system, whether it's experience or milestone or a mix of the two. But I think how we'll do it is if when your character dies, you'll come in with the base level experience to have just hit that level.
Okay.
So currently, I don't know how close you guys are level 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how close you are to 5th, but should one of you guys would die, you would come back to level 4 as if you had just hit the experience benchmark for level 4.
So you might be a
Okay.
little bit behind the rest of the party.
So eventually, yeah, you would the rest of the party would level before you. You would be a little bit behind. But theoretically, though, that power creep will garner the party as a whole more experience and lessen that gap over time. But once you get to the higher levels, it's very slow leveling up. Again, depending on how your DM handles experience and leveling. I mean, some DMs like to just hand out levels because they like the more involved combats, the more challenging creatures, the more interesting creatures often have higher challenge ratings. So yeah, I think that's how we'll probably handle it.
So they don't end up being weak, so you don't have to calculate the monsters any
They don't end up
differently.
being like the disparity of 5 levels, right?
Yeah.
Or something crazy like that. Because you can't. Because literally then, if you're fighting something with the challenge rating 5 that's suitable for a party of 4 or 5 5th level characters, and you have one first level character, that first level character will get insta-killed by a single hit from that from that monster.
And potentially not be able to do any damage either.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, the alternative I think that she touched on would be to make all of the bad guys super weak, which would be boring for the existing characters. You know what I mean? So you don't can't do that
Exactly.
either.
There is like a balance that you have to strike there.
I would like to note he said when, not if.
Well, hey, death
When
is
you
inevitable.
die.
John.
Yeah, death and taxes.
We're all in the process
Yep.
of dying. She also commented that she thought it was really cool to look back and kind of see the different threads of the storyline that appeared before we knew exactly what maybe was going on. So she touched on a scene where there was a wagon that went by on the way to Drew Call, and she was saying, that could have been full of people who were tied up in the back of that wagon on their way, kind of being trafficked, like we almost were trafficked.
The wagon when we were camping on the way to Drew Call and it passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked
We
to the
d-
oak.
oh.
The orc did not put that together till I saw her question.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of that either. So
You
She's so
guys need to pay
smart.
more attention
Good
because there's
idea.
lots of stuff like that I put in there.
are you giving her a playtest with Jessica
Elena,
Leland?
ask her to just pay attention. Just ask her to pay attention and email us what's going on.
Jess, you gotta give me all your inside scoop, man. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I will say that wagon may or may not have been filled with kidnapped people, but it's
Yeah,
certainly
human trafficking, baby.
certainly related to what went down in the barn outside of Drew Call with
All right.
with those darklings.
Plus 20 points for Jess.
But
Jessica levels up.
there would be absolutely no reason for us to think that or do anything about it from a character
Exactly.
perspective.
Yeah.
That wagon was not put there hoping I was not intending to use that wagon as a plot device for you to discover to stumble upon this thing. That is literally just fleshing out everything that's happening around you.
It is kind of a breadcrumb, especially for listeners.
It's a breadcrumb
Yeah.
that we are too dumb to see.
That's right. That's the other factor.
If you found every breadcrumb, you'd be too full by the time you got to the end.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Pep's got it.
There'd be no room left for mead.
Unfortunately, we're starving.
We don't eat anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we eat bugs. That's coming up.
All right. Is there any? We had some more
Spoiler
questions,
alert.
right?
There were other questions. Yeah. Did you? I think you had a couple written down, didn't you, Em?
Yeah, what kind of hardware software are you using to record? It sounds like Shaft had an upgrade. He did not have an upgrade. He actually had a downgrade in that he got kicked down to the basement.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like Leland thinks he is better than you after he bailed on Origins? We've always thought that, not just because of the
Yeah.
Origins thing.
Snap.
Yeah, I thought I made that crystal clear the very, very first episode that we ever.
We picked up on that.
That was on Facebook.
Well,
Yeah,
That was from
Riley J.
from
we gave
Riley, yeah.
Leland many tempting options, one of them being flying from Vancouver to London and then driving down to Origins for 6 hours with Bill and I in a car.
did research cheap flights and
You did,
offered-
and you did find a very affordable one. Had I
offer
been able to get
to
the time
commute.
off, I would have been there in a heartbeat.
You would have been stuck in the
You
car
were scared
with
to
us.
sit in a car for 6 hours with us. That's the
we
real
did.
story.
We did totally look at price, though, not safety in any way.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of illnesses you guys caught from Victor. I don't know if I want to get
Yeah.
physical proximity of you.
Bring your mask.
Although we did talk about you a lot at Origins, though.
All the time.
All positive.
Well,
Always.
I wasn't.
I'm
I wasn't
sure.
going to fill in any gaps.
I could do that myself.
We thought about seeing if we could rope you into doing a Google
Yeah,
Hangouts
Leland.
actually for like one of the games or
Yeah,
something we were
I
playing.
don't know what day
but
that would
it
have
never
been.
happened.
Yeah.
No,
We
I
could have
don't
made moves for him
probably
from
wouldn't
the
have
phone.
worked.
I would like to mention, though, we did actually play a D&D session,
Yes.
4 of us together with
I was gonna say.
Ian, a listener, DM'd a quick thing for us. We played a couple hours, so it was really interesting to play together for the first time live. I'll let you guys talk about
Thank
that.
you,
Thanks,
Ian.
Ian.
Yeah, that was fun. It was very different. Like obviously it wasn't in the same wasn't in Aspara. But it was nice of him to throw together a little story for us to play through, and
It
first
was
time
our
Elena and I
first
had
time,
ever played in person.
in person, where
We're
we
used
could
to
like
looking at a computer screen and
we
a
could look at
microphone.
John and Emily at the same time instead of as they talk and pop up on Hangouts. So
Yeah, so that was fun. Thanks a lot.
Did you
Ian.
feel like it added a different dynamic?
Yes.
it added eye contact I'm not used to.
Yeah, I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was uncomfortable, too.
I kind of was like it was kind of. I mean, it got better, but
To kidding aside, I was super nervous like the first time that we played on mic in our podcast, and now that's mostly gone. But it like brought me back to being a little bit nervous. It was kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Hey, Pep, have you ever played online with doing a D&D session?
I have, but generally it's been a backup kind of thing. Like we've been playing in person, and then maybe everyone just can't get out of the house on a particular weekend, so we might do it over the internet. So I haven't had that experience of getting to kind of like jump between them and whatnot. Like I haven't started a session. I feel like that would be a little nerve-wracking for me. Although honestly, anytime I start a new session with new players, there's always that little bit of nervousness because I've had players before where I'd jump a new player in while I'm DMing and start a new session with someone I hadn't played before, and it was just very clear they didn't like the way that I DM'd. They didn't like the play style of the game. And so, yeah, it made me uncomfortable just not knowing in that first session, like, how do I cater these things to this new player?
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I DM, I always sort of look around the table, and if it looks like somebody's sort of not interested in what's going on, I try to move something over to what their character can interact a little bit and try to keep everybody engaged as much as possible. And I think playing like we're doing right now, like we're recording, you don't actually get to see that. You know, Elena and Bill are really small down in the corner, and I can't tell I can never tell if Bill's engaged or not. But,
That's so true. Is he thinking or is he
You
listening?
can't read the body language.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's much easier to read body language and facial expressions when everyone's.
You know
around a
what
table.
was the weirdest thing is like sitting around a table playing, you can eat some food or play with your dice, and like we're just very conscious of any extra noise while we're
Yeah.
recording, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you could yeah, basically, like,
Yeah, that was a nice change. You don't have to work, be hyper vigilant about not tapping on the desk that the mic's sitting on or anything like that.
Well,
Right,
and
yeah.
but all of that is because we are producing a podcast. That's
Sure,
not
sure.
conducive of like just playing online because that's the only outlet you have, right?
True.
But that is a really good point.
I talked to some of my friends. They're talking about other podcasts that they listen to, and they hear, they'll be in the middle of this adventure, and then they hear a pop can open, or they hear somebody, do something, and it suddenly just takes them right out of the whole feel of it. And I think we do a pretty good job of I think Leland does a good job of cutting all that shit out.
Because
Yeah.
I fucking hate that. So rest assured, listener, I'm compulsive about the editing that I do. Which maybe a little too compulsive, and that's why it may take me a little longer than it.
You're really
Probably
making yourself
needs
out
to.
in a good light today, Leland. You're just this compulsive control freak.
That's
That's why we
Without
love him.
sleeves. The glowing, compulsive, sleeveless control freak.
so out of character.
If you've been with us this whole journey and have not realized that is what I'm like by now, then I don't know.
you.
You've got to walk around with a dunce cap on or something.
Poor judge of character.
Yeah, you're a shit read on character.
Was
there more?
There is
Sorry.
another. Yep, we got a Twitter question.
Super
we
McDad.
can skip that one.
No,
Super McDad.
It's important that we want our
'Cause
listeners
it's about
to.
you.
What does it say?
No, I'm just advocating for Super McDad's question to be read because
Look, can I
want him to be
before
offended.
we get to his question? Okay, we'll validate his opinion.
We're always
Which
ripping
is-
on him.
That's
and
the
pump
theme
my
of
tires.
that's the theme of AP7 so
What's
far.
his real name? What's
We don't
Super?
know.
No idea.
Last
but
name
is
McDad?
is it McDad or is it MC Dad or is it an abbreviation of Mac Daddy?
It's a good question.
Okay.
Is it Super Mac Daddy?
It keeps me up at night.
It's McDad. I don't know.
The C is
I don't know.
capitalized, so that would lead me to believe it's MC Dad.
Yeah, but isn't the whole thing capitalized?
Maybe he's a DJ.
Yo, it's MC Daddy in the house.
Yeah.
Tell us your real name, Super. We want to know your real name. Call you out.
So Leland, where were you going?
Sorry, yeah.
Was that it?
I was just,
We're all-
I'm just
we're all
confused
over
on how to say his name. That's all.
Okay.
We're all over the place tonight. Oh my
In
god.
case
So-
I wanted. I don't know. Sorry to continue interrupting one last time. I promise. That was on my mind because I think I wanted to call him by name in an episode intro a while ago. I forget what it was for. I wanted to reference him, but I didn't know how to say it, so I didn't want to get it wrong. So I didn't do it.
I feel like based
Clarify, buddy.
on the amount that he's interacted with us, he's probably not the type of person that is going to be offended if you mispronounce his name. He wouldn't be hanging around this long if he was easily offended.
Let me be clear.
Or had taste.
I could give a shit if I offended Super McDad for mispronouncing his name. I didn't want to be on record
Leland!
for eternity. I didn't want to be on
Be
record
nice
for
to
eternity.
listeners. We've
making a
talked about
mistake.
this.
Look,
One less viewer now.
clearly you don't care because Southern and Cavern are
He made fun of his
are looking
camera.
now.
He's at least making fun of himself, right?
Okay.
Oh boy. All right.
Without further
question.
ado.
So many
On to the question.
Southerns left in this
question-
campaign. Like,
The question everyone's been waiting for, perhaps the most important question we've ever been asked, I would
No.
say.
No.
it's
Read
about
it.
Falzarin, obviously.
How did it feel for Falzarin to 1v1 that ogre?
That is not true.
That-
We
we're not-
already
It's a
covered
multi-part
this.
question. Is he sick of carrying the group?
Oh my gosh.
Is jealousy the reason that Gozer keeps trying to kill him?
It's amusing. That's why Gozer keeps trying to kill him.
Hard-hitting
Falzarin-
questions coming from Super McDad.
Falzarin,
really.
Because
why don't you
Falzarin
answer?
is worthless in Gozer's mind.
No, let's give him his
Listen,
moment.
he's not
Falzarin, tell us-
worthless.
Tell us how you feel about what Super McDad said. I think you need your moment.
It's about time that someone sees things from my perspective.
That's it?
That's your whole
All that
defense?
build up and there's nothing?
So
That's
how
it?
did I feel? I felt like finally my abilities are being realized. when I 1v1'd the ogre, and I felt like, I'm surprised that there's a bit of sweat on my brow because that was easy.
Well, you were
Is he
very
sick
close
of-
to that floating sphere.
Is he sick of carrying the group? Yes, I am
Sorry.
sick of carrying the group.
Okay.
And is jealousy the reason that Gozer keeps trying to kill him?
Gosh.
It would make sense.
Yeah.
This is so ridiculous.
I think we know who Super McDaddy is. I think it's Bill.
He's an alternate account. Exactly.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to figure out how to look like you were listening from New Zealand?
Yeah. Bill bought
kept
that
saying-
VPN he was talking about.
Thankfully, VPNs are pretty cheap.
Okay. That's,
I will admit. Oh, I was
Yep.
gonna say,
Oh,
I
yeah.
will admit, real quick. Listening back, Falzarin gives the killing blow more than I
Yeah,
realized.
I've killed a lot of
but
people,
you
but
definitely don't do the majority of
steal.
damage.
You kill
my-
Steel.
that's my shtick.
Kill steal. You're a cherry picker.
I will say, at some point in time in the future, we will have to eat our words. Having a 15th level wizard, I know that at some point in time.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Power
does he
creep is a
save us
thing, man.
recently? I don't remember.
No.
Falsey
Yeah.
is not getting to 15th level.
You savage.
Yes.
All right, Pep, you had a question?
Yeah, I got a question from a new fan.
Yeah.
From
They
himself.
they want to know, what would your character's favorite ice cream be?
Oh my god.
Favorite ice cream?
Not yours, your character's favorite
Yeah,
ice cream.
yeah. I think Falzarin, since he's stealing
You're
the
quick
show
to
right
answer
now,
here. Jeez.
perhaps
Magic,
a
magic,
fan favorite.
magic.
I think he would like an ice cream that's like kind of an orangey,
Vanilla.
orangey swirl
Falzarin
with
seems
reddish.
vanilla.
So maybe like a, what's the name of that? It's an ice cream made after a type of cake.
What?
Red velvet. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is not orange.
Well, it's
red,
reddish.
red velvet.
Reminds me of
Oh,
fire.
he wants an orange velvet cake.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
Yeah, orange velvet
Why?
for Falzarin.
Orange velvet.
Because it
ice
reminds him
cream.
of fire. And he
Oh.
he's an evocation wizard. Come on.
Does evocation mean fire?
Not necessarily, but I think if you want to use spells that do fiery stuff, you probably want to go down the evocation route.
All right, I was just picking on you. I don't even know what I would pick.
How the tables have turned.
Well, John and Emily can go.
No, we
Those are
want to hear your answer.
Do they make like a sex on the beach ice cream?
Yes, Shaft.
'Cause that's what Shaft would want.
yes.
Yeah, something
So just-
really creamy.
Just a sex on a beach on ice.
How about a,
You're just
how about
having
a
a
banana?
Right.
What about a banana split?
Oh.
I feel like there's a sexual joke in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one sounds painful. Gozer?
Gozer would be happy with some frozen raw meat.
Meat ice cream. I love it.
Bryn's
Should just gnaw on that.
okay. Bryn's favorite would probably be some like simple classic flavor that she got as a kid with her parents at the local ice cream store.
That'd be
So like
death
strawberry.
by chocolate.
Yeah, death by you know what? Death by chocolate would be like her current favorite, but like a nostalgic favorite is sort of what I picture Bryn really being into. Something from her childhood. Right? She grew up too fast. She would like to think back to
Yeah, she got to harken back to the good
Yeah.
old days.
A simpler time.
When she
Yeah.
was happy and not a murderer.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That was a great question. Thanks.
What about Leland?
What about Thuft?
There you go.
Ooh,
Thuft?
There you go.
Thuft would, I think Thuft would probably eat anything that Gozer left behind.
Exactly.
Really.
That's what I was thinking. Whatever Gozer gives him.
Mashed up bugs.
Yeah, mashed up bugs. A good Thuft would accept what he is given and with a smile. And thanks, King. Thank you, King.
I love that voice. I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
It's such a good one. I mean, I'm glad Thuft's alive. It was close there
Spoilers.
for a minute.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah, spoilers.
Not yet.
Thuft's
It was
alive.
close there in the future.
Next
Pep,
after
any
party,
other
we can talk
any
Are
about
we
other
done?
listener questions?
I don't think I have any others. Did anyone else catch anywhere else?
No, we didn't actually answer the first part of Riley's, the hardware and software stuff.
Oh.
Leland
What was
cares
the question
about that.
again?
What kind of
hardware
hardware software are we using to record?
Oh, so Elena and I share a mic, which
The Blue
is,
Yeti
is
what
probably
up?
very doable, but I'll admit I'm the biggest problem in the equation because I have a tendency to lean back in my chair and then sometimes lean forward into the mic, and so it probably makes Leland's life miserable.
Well, you also have just a deeper speaking voice as well, which when your volume, the slight volume dip of your actual speaking voice drops it like tenfold on mic. It seems like you hit this threshold where you just kind of get real quiet, despite your speaking voice being more or less level throughout the whole thing. But
yeah, so we share a microphone. It's a Blue Yeti, and then all of us record on Audacity and record separate files. What about everyone else?
Let Leland handle that one.
Audacity is just super easy to use. It's free software. If anybody wants to start any type of podcasting or whatever, Audacity is the way to go. It's very user friendly for editing. It's surprisingly powerful for free software. I use a Blue Yeti too. That's what I've actually pretty much since I started podcasting a couple years ago. That's what I predominantly used. But a lot of it is less so. Now we're having a TED talk on podcasting. It's less about the equipment and more about the acoustics of the room you're in.
It's not the size of the wave, it's the motion.
You could have the best. That's right. It's the motion of the ocean. You can have the best mic and XLR mic or whatever. But if you're getting the echo from your room, it's gonna.
Well,
sound
that's
shit
probably
anyway,
why they thought John upgraded, but really he just changed his habits and setups.
Absolutely.
And,
He is now in more of a confined space with some padding up behind him, and Emily has since put up some along her, and I always have some mounted acoustic foam behind me.
We're too lazy.
Trying to make it sound as good as
That's
possible.
another thing that probably helps our quality from you three. We don't have much of that going on, although we have some stuff in between us and the wall that we're talking into. So
we have dogs that occasionally add to the acoustics,
But yeah, Leland, you've got that nice little foam barrier behind you, and then John and Emily both have some
we put blankets and stuff up
behind.
I mean,
you guys.
we did a little bit of research and we saw that we could buy the foam pads, and I was willing to go do that and build some walls. And then I saw a YouTube test that they did with towels and blankets versus went out and buying
foam.
and the towels did the best as far as killing the
Right.
sound.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
Well, honestly, like that. Like you could, like the foam I have is cheap ass foam. It's like literally
right.
It could be anything up there, but
yeah. So we just use we have the blue snowball mics that we got off Amazon for I don't know $60. We did invest a lot into it because we figured it would fall flat and nobody would ever listen.
So cheers to that. Cheers to 1,000 downloads.
also the initial investments on all of our part were not actually first for the Incorrigible party.
Right.
That's true.
They were for a project that did never get off the ground. So
Yeah.
That is
and
true.
never will.
Incorrigible hour.
Incorrigible
Yeah,
hour.
we do have the lost episodes
Rip.
of that somewhere,
Oh
right?
yeah, I got lots of content we could slap together and put out somehow if we wanted to.
But you know what? It served its purpose to introduce us to each other and to get us comfortable. And then when we played D&D together, it you could tell that we were kind of bantery friends at that point.
True.
So it all
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
Yeah.
I'd
was a good
say
primer.
we were all bantering friends on Twitter long before
Well,
we
there's a
ever.
difference between doing it on Twitter and doing it when you can actually see the person's face.
It just made it a lot easier to start ripping on each other almost immediately when we first. I mean, it didn't take very long.
Yeah, I mean, John, now we have to call you bald to your face. So,
Yeah. And you know that I don't care.
And we have to call Leland pale to his face,
Pep, what kind of
fine,
mic are you using?
Yeah, I actually. Well, first I wanted to comment on Leland. it makes so much more sense now that you say that that's like a sound barrier. I always thought you were in like a little tanning room in your house or something. I thought that was like an upside down tanning bed or something like that. I didn't know what.
It's not working.
Yeah, it's not working. Then the guy sold me regular light bulbs and not UV light bulbs. I got screwed then.
Oh, but yeah, I'm just using. At the moment, I'm not really doing podcasts, so I just have like a Logitech headset. It's for gaming and whatnot, so I think it's got decent sound.
Yeah,
It did. Yeah, I think it sounded fine.
Yeah, but that's something that I kind of wanted to stray that question in is I noticed when you invited me to the show, you didn't really ask me about my equipment or anything. It was probably safe to assume that I had something
personal, isn't
reasonable.
it?
Right.
Yeah,
Leland, that's your job.
but I'm just
Right,
thinking.
What am I supposed to? Okay, we're saying, hey, would you like to be a guest on our podcast? I'm going to assume a confirmation on the guest spot means he has a microphone of some kind.
But what if I had like an old 20-year-old microphone that's super staticky? You know, what do you do then, right?
he does make a very good point.
We
That
go with
should
it.
be.
We go.
I do
We
make a
go-
great point.
we
Yes,
go
thank you,
with it.
Jonathan. We go with it.
Grumpy.
Yeah,
Jonathan.
just make a storm roll in.
So do you want us? Okay, great. 173rd. That 173rd question will be, what kind of mic do you have?
What
and
kind
we'll
of
set
mic
this
you got?
barrier to entry so we can't have anybody on the fucking podcast. Hey, we just solved my NBC guest problem.
You're welcome, Leland.
And it only took 172 questions.
You know what? You're the one who said you were slightly on the, nay side of things, and now you're calling it an NPC problem. I mean, like your true feelings are coming out here.
How do you like being our second problem on the show there, Pep?
Yeah.
Feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad.
Oh.
Glad to have you.
Well, okay, that is a great segue. We're going to let's wrap this up. We're out of questions.
We're
Let's
gonna
segue
officially sign off.
Yes, we're officially. Let's segue into some more plugs for Pep. So at the time that we recorded with Pep,
Thanks for
Pep, you didn't have plugs for Pep. You didn't have you've started recently adding more content to your YouTube channel, right?
I did,
Yes.
yeah. Last
So what kind
week,
of equipment?
yeah.
What kind of equipment do you use for that then?
I was hoping not to answer that so soon. So
All right, hey, no, don't.
no, you're gonna love this. So
use what you've got.
I maybe it'll surprise you, maybe it won't, but I record completely audio and video just off the camera and mic on my phone.
Good for you.
Mind you, I have a brand
That's all
new.
you need.
I have the Samsung Note 9, so it's got a great camera anyway. It records in 4K, so I mean,
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah.
Well,
Damn.
that reminds me of
That's
another.
what Danny and Derek do.
Yeah,
board games.
Danny and Derek are another board game YouTube channel who have done very well for themselves, and they may have upgraded since, but for a
I
long
think they
time
have.
there, they were just using an iPhone,
Just
and
using
that would have
yeah,
been like
yeah.
And
an
he
older
edited on the
generation
iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
use
it can
what
be
you've
done.
got.
Yeah, I didn't want to edit on my phone, but I got a computer a few months ago, and just a few weeks ago, just decided to stop working, and I haven't got it fixed yet. So I had to edit on my phone too.
Oh, no.
And the first episode I did, which was a pep talk, it was pretty easy because it was all kind of one take. So it was like 3 quick edits. The next one I released, however, was
Your
me.
Onitama one.
Yeah, me playing with myself.
That was a great
Yeah.
video though.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess we're on a podcast. Let's word this differently. Me playing with another version of myself.
Was that a one shot?
It was not a one shot. It was
Wrapped up
filmed
very quickly.
Yeah, it was filmed maybe differently than you might expect because it wasn't scripted.
Oh.
I literally shot all of the table shot together, but all the dialogue that was mixed in was dialogue that I did while I was on the table shot. And then afterwards, I re-recorded the stuff I wanted to be headshots. I just went back and said the same thing. So, like,
Right.
every conversation bit is, like, naturally what I said in response. Like, who won that wasn't planned. I actually went, like, move for move, and it came out that way, right? So
That's cool.
yeah, but editing it was a nightmare because editing on the phone was fine for like 4 clips. It was not fine for like 100 clips. It froze like 10 to 15 seconds
Oh.
every time I did anything. It's like, oh, I cut a little bit off the end of a clip. I gotta wait 15 seconds now.
So what's your YouTube channel?
It should just be under Board Pep. I am just starting, so I don't have like a cover photo or like a channel description or anything. So I should get.
Oh, so this is a waste of the
Smash the like
donations
button.
to plug for Pep then.
Yeah,
All
well, yeah.
these donations and fundraising we've done just
Smash that like button.
Smash
hit
like.
subscribe.
Hit the
Yeah.
bell.
Ring that little bell
Yeah.
to get some
Ding that
future
dong.
content. Yeah,
You've got some time though. This won't come out for a little while yet.
that's true.
So-
That's true. So I should have some more stuff. I can kind of spoil things. There's a game in the back. That someone sent me that asked me to do a review of it. Am I pointing to it? I am.
Yep.
Yeah, but they can't see that because this is a podcast.
This isn't YouTube.
Yeah, so it's Game of Thrones Oathbreaker. So I'm gonna do a review for that. My plan is I want to do a couple different ones. I'm going to do like a minute-long review, like a 5-minute review, and then a longer one just to kind of have little bite-sized chunks.
yeah, that's smart.
But yeah, no, I want to do more of the pep talks and the board with friends, like the Onitama thing is what I kind of want to do. So I have other characters in mind. Essentially, my ideal is it's based on player color, so I want a different character for every possible player color.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, so the next time, I'm kind of debating what game I want to play next. I don't know if I want to keep it light and do something like Jenga or something like that, or I might jump into Sheriff of Nottingham and like get a little bit more complex.
Dude, drop
Yeah,
it.
that would be complex. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Get a little bluffing and stuff going in there. So.
Yeah, I guess with the longer form games, like it's not going to be a whole playthrough or what, like, because the game of Sheriff of Nottingham, right? Like you play like a round maybe.
Well, I think what I want to do is something I always notice with playthroughs and stuff is there's certain information you don't really need. Like the first couple times something happens, like let's say in something like Sheriff of Nottingham, maybe people doing getting the cards out, how many cards they throw away, what they take. Yeah, the first 1 or 2 times you do that, that makes sense. The
Right.
next 43 times you do that, it doesn't. You know what they did, right? So when it comes to like the final like 6 or 7 rounds, really all you need to do is show the person putting things in a bag, say what they're saying it is, like have everyone do it, and then have the bluffing happen. Because that's the meat of the game. Like if you're gonna see that, that's all you really want to see. You don't really need to see what people are like picking up and throwing away, unless it's one of those awesome ones where it's like I'm gonna pick up 3 apples plus this contraband at the bottom, and then
Right,
it's like
exactly.
why'd you pick that up? Why'd you pick that up? It's suspicious, and so yeah, you might want to see that. But otherwise, yeah, I'm hoping I can cut a lot of content out, so I can still have the full gameplay in, right?
Right. I guess though, like you could, film like a 3-player version of Sheriff of Nottingham or something, right? You know how
Yeah.
to play like 5-player, like
No.
5 Peps bouncing around the table playing.
That's true. I'm wondering how many, because I've always DM'd and whatnot, so I'm used to having different personalities, but I don't know how many I could pull off during one recording and have it
Right.
not just come across. The character I picked to do, and the reason I picked such a distinct voice was I thought that would help.
Warburton.
Patrick Warburton, yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
would help differentiate the characters, you know? Yeah, what you know it wasn't me who was talking. But yeah, if I just start having me, but with a softer voice or something, it's not the same thing, right?
Right.
It's just me, but nicer.
And social media stuff.
Oh yeah, on Twitter I am BoardPep. Last time we also mentioned that I have a PokePep on Twitter as
Right.
well. And I think in the last one I even said, keep an eye out, I'll definitely start posting stuff on that again. And I definitely didn't. But now I will.
You're like,
And,
second time's a charm.
Second time's a charm. Instagram, it's the same. I have BoardPep and PokePep.
Before we sign off on this after party, maybe this is a bad thing to bring up on mic, but I think I've touched on it enough that it's probably no surprise to anyone. Do we want to put a call out for people to suggest, send in submissions for maybe like some potions we can buy or some items we can buy that Leland could decide to maybe throw into a future episode if we come across
Are
a
they
place
deciding
where
the
there's-
item or the
So
name?
we could wrest some more of that control away from him.
I will never let it go.
Well, let's ask Pep. What do you think of the idea of people writing in and saying, "Hey, if you go to a magic shop, you could buy potions," and they come up with what the potion does and the name of the potion. something to that effect, or magical weapons. And
Kind of
we
like a
have the
shout
option
out
to-
for our listeners in a way.
Yeah, I think that's clever, especially if you found like the MC Daddy wand of
Yes.
Right.
whatever, like
Sexy.
yeah, and I think that's fun too. Even if you talked about wanting to give MC Daddy a shout out in a video, even if someone has a name that maybe fits D&D a little better, you can even throw them in as a character name and something. So people who have submitted comments might notice that their name sneaks in an episode, something like that. That could be kind of entertaining
We'll
for people.
end up with a NPC called Taco.
We'll have 5 NPCs named Brian.
What's
about
this? Yeah,
6 NPCs
BK
named
BK
Ian.
Fishin'.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taco Ian and BK Fishing.
Although knowing this group, you'll just end up killing the NPCs, and then everyone will be mad because you killed all the characters based on them off.
There, Leland, that gives you some satisfaction.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Yes, please. You can DM me on Twitter if you want, or Incorrigible Party Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, send in some stuff, some recommendations. Absolutely, we'll incorporate them if I like them.
We are on pretty much any social media you can think of, and that reminds me, we are on Reddit as well now too. We have
Oh dear
We
God.
have a measly
we
Reddit
have
page.
a subreddit. It's blowing
Okay,
up.
we're
We
here
have
to
a
plug the
Discord.
guests. We're not here to plug the shit out of ourselves.
So how big is this Reddit then? You got like
It's huge. I don't like to brag about numbers,
It's
so we won't say numbers.
Huge.
huge. Okay.
It's
I'm not
not.
part of it.
It's barely out of the single digit.
I stay away from Reddit, but
There's
I'll go
nothing
take a
there
look.
except for what I've posted,
Oh.
basically.
Okay, we have to wrap this up. My goodness.
This is
I
a
will
long one,
say
guys.
one last thing before we all sign off is if listeners are going to submit suggestions for magic items, when I give them to you, do not instantly forget I gave them to you.
That's true.
I can't believe you'd suggest that would happen.
I mean, we forgot about those arrows pretty quickly.
3 of the 4 of you, yes.
I have 3 arrows in my possession.
Hey,
It's-
I remember all my magic items, I think.
It's a little bit less obvious when I forget because I have the, what's it called? The cap of cat.
Cap of casting.
Cap of
Cap of
Casting,
casting. Yeah, see how well I remember it? It gives +1 to my spellcasting ability. So when I give Leland a number, you don't know that I've forgotten to add the +1, but most times I have.
Hey, Leland, I'd like to say that sometimes you forget what magic items you've given us too, which will come out in a future episode.
Touche. Touche.
At least I finally have my ring of jumping figured out.
This is true. I've been Leland Steele. Good night.
I've been Shaft.
I've been Emily.
So we're mixing names and we're saying
Apparently.
I've been as if we're dead?
Yeah.
I am no longer Emily from this point. I was only Emily for the last 2
Well,
hours.
I am Elena.
I'm still Pep.
I've been Bill.
He's been Bill. This is so weird.
And that's our show. Our intro and outro music was created by Josh Jarvis. For your own musical inquiries, contact jamesmercymusic@gmail.com. All other music and ambient noise is courtesy of tabletopaudio.com. The Incorrigible Party is sponsored by Critical Hit Design. Visit criticalhitdesign.com for all of your graphic design needs. You can find more info on the characters and world at incorrigibleparty.com. Enjoying the show? Have any questions or rules corrections? Email us. contact@incorrigibleparty.com or reach out on social media. The Incorrigible Party on Facebook and Instagram, @IncorrigiblePar on Twitter, using the hashtag AfterPartyIP for a shout out during our behind the screen after party episodes that drop every 4th release. Happy adventuring!
You
love
hate
her.
on Chelsea
I was,
Peretti, but
I
like
was so
her
angry
comeback
when she.
episode was
I was so angry
good.
when she came back. That was a stupid
But it
fucking
wasn't-
episode.
No,
because
I
it was
don't
okay.
care
Look,
for
it
her
was like
character
4
either.
episodes of bliss, and then suddenly she's back. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot she was on this show. This
Come
is the
on.
worst fucking show ever.
I like her, but I don't like her in large doses. Like she's funny, but she's funny like when there's a little like quick Gina gag, it's funny. But when like an episode revolves around
Oh,
her and it's
yeah.
just her constantly
It's too
doing
much.
gag after gag.
It's too
But
much.
honestly,
Yeah.
that's true of almost
think that's
everyone in the
fair.
show for me, other than like Captain Holt.